Hi there, it is Linda Stacy of Living Blueprints, and today is the day after I did session one of Optimized You, the first about taking the seat of control. That was the first quote unquote official tip or lesson that we're going over. And I thought I would get on today to talk about something I mentioned last night that, as much as we plan, life has a way of entering new opportunities for learning and adjusting, right? So last night we had a crazy storm in New England. And some of you who are connected with me on regular Facebook personal page see that we have a couple of downed, they're limbs, but they look like entire trees. And one took out part of our shed, another is completely blocking the driveway. And if my husband hadn't moved his truck at a certain time last night, it would have totally fallen into the truck. So as a result, we have no power. I am on the battery of my computer, and crazy have cellular service, which is awesome. And I don't have as good a cellular service on my phone. And, I'm getting ready to leave today. Living in New England, my husband has a generator. I never had a generator growing up, but, so some amount of preparation and forethought is saving us here as we are able to keep the refrigerator plugged in. And I was able to make coffee this morning, but I wasn't able to do things with my hair that I would normally do in the morning. But I really have been focusing on what I can do in order to make the day as effective as possible as I get ready to go. Really, it's all about focusing on what is possible as life presents itself, and being ready with something else if we can't actually execute the way we planned. Plus, we were up for an hour plus in the middle of the night, which meant that I slept a little bit longer because, as I mentioned yesterday, sleep is huge for me. So if you haven't watched any of the other series, I highly recommend looking at last night's video, which is posted here on the Living Blueprints community page. It's also on YouTube. And if you are on YouTube, I'd love it if you subscribe. Just having more subscribers means that other people can find the page too. And any comments or emojis that you want to share as you're watching this, clearly in replay, it's the middle of the day on Thursday. A lot of people are at work in the middle of things right now. But I wanted to, in addition to talk about, how we just keep going, even when life enters with crazy storms and such, a couple of other things that come up a lot as it relates to what we're doing here first week, and that is just beginning to learn to plan and preview and review, and just putting some basic steps into the way that we approach 1 week, 1 day from the next. One is about, a lot of people ask me about other people. Like they're putting all these awesome things in their own life, but if my husband only did X, or if my direct reports would only do Y, or if I could only get my boss to whatever. And sadly, we only have control over ourselves, right? I mean, maybe as a boss, you might like to think that you control your direct reports to some degree, and you might in some ways, but the best way for direct reports, spouses, anyone to learn is for you to be an awesome role model and not to be a nag about things, but just kind of go about what you're responsible for, your roles and responsibilities, and, address them in the most mature and positive and professional way, if it's a professional situation that you can. And really being a role model, it begins to rub off on people. But if you expect other people to kind of behave a certain way, you're going to be upset a lot of the time if you're going to be focused on that all of the time. So, and another thing about other people, I have found that people who are brand new in roles, brand new to the workforce, are in a specific role, they might need more information than you're used to sharing or giving. And I would say make very few assumptions about what they know about what you're describing them and to them in terms of what they need to do. And if you're having a situation with a boss and you feel like you don't have enough information, ask for it. I mean, I feel like so much in work situations and even in personal situations, people are not filling the gap between where the person is and what you're trying to convey, or vice versa. Try to bridge that gap as much as possible. Be thinking about where the gap is, and their experience can be completely different from yours. I mean, I have a new direct report I was talking to yesterday about some of the things we've observed, which I'm very uncomfortable giving feedback. But, as women in the workforce, studies have been shown that because women are perceived as not being able to take feedback, they aren't given feedback because no one wants to deal with a woman who can't handle the feedback. And then as a result, it limits our growth. So that's kind of how I opened the conversation with this young woman, was that 5 years from now, I'll be upset if I don't have this conversation with you, because I think it can improve your professional life. So when I'm thinking about what's in the highest interest of everyone, we can have these kind of conversations and bridge the gaps. And I found out for her how overwhelmed she gets when she doesn't know how to do something, when it appears that everyone else around her does, and she just needed more information. And you know, I can encourage her to ask all the questions, but I can also provide more information. And this just applies to any interpersonal relationship. And in the workplace, a lot of people new to jobs too don't have a lot of basic skills as it comes to productivity and keeping their multiple projects moving forward. So this series that I'm doing also applies to the workspace. And it's one of the things I do in organizations is come in and teach, you know, some basic, how do you keep multiple projects going? How do you deal with being interrupted? How do you deal with the email overload? You know, all of these things that taught in a lot of environments. They do get taught in some environments. I was never officially taught these things. And I know a lot of people weren't. And some people have expectations that everyone was taught these, you know, there's so much room for miscommunication in the workplace and in life for that matter. Another thing I wanted to talk about just in terms of my travel, and you know, we talked last night about planning and getting everything in gear. And usually when I do this multi-city trip, I bring a bigger suitcase. But I decided that I'm not going to this time. I decided I'm going to bring the carry-on, and it's mostly because of all of those like 20, 30, 40-minute wait times where I could be in bed sooner. I'm usually arriving in the city the night before I have to present the next day. And I've decided it makes sense. And Singapore, where some of you know we were in August, my husband he really wanted me to bring a small suitcase so we didn't have to deal with getting a suitcase through customs and all of that. And I did it, and I was successful. And I was like, okay, if I did it for Singapore, although it was 5 days and it was like summer clothes, I can do it for this 11-day trip. So I have 2 pair of jeans, about 3 tops, and maybe 2 sweaters, and they're like all interchangeable. So it can take some time to get even your wardrobe to a point where you can do that comfortably and feel good about the outfits. I know I'm going to be sick of these clothes after 11 or 12 days, but I'm excited about that. I have, you know, a miniature, a little tiny hairspray. But there are some things I'm giving up in terms of my morning routine that I'm not going to be able to do. But those are some adjustments that I've made. I've done this trip now since about 2005, 2 to 3 times a year. And I did it really poorly before, and I'm just get better and better at kind of getting all of this junk out of the way so that I can have a positive experience. So the outfit thing is huge. Also, there's a lot of mornings where getting food is not the most convenient thing. There was a year where I was dragging my suitcase into like a Starbucks, and I mean, it was ridiculous trying to like hold my food in a suitcase and all this. It just doesn't work. So I bring a lot of things. I bring bars, like nutrition bars that I feel good about, and sometimes I'll even pack with the travel blender. And with my little tiny tea kettle. I mean, hotels have these things, but when you arrive at like 10 o'clock at night and you ask for a tea kettle and they don't show up until 11:30, I mean, it's very irritating. So I've been packing this. These are the things that I will not pack if they don't fit with everything else, but I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try my best. And I also always bring something for the plane. And for me, usually that means dark chocolate and almonds. They're easy to pack. Apples travel well too, and even hard-boiled eggs in or out of the shell. They will last for, you know, a day or so. So these are some of the things I do to support myself, because I am affected when I eat the crap that they give you or sell you in an airplane. And it's hard enough on your body to be on a plane that much. It's total dehydration, all of the germs and everything else, that I'm doing whatever I can to kind of maintain so my body feels okay as much as possible. So this is all part of my planning, and it gets easier as I go and make lists every time. So those are some of the things I just wanted to catch up on in terms of how I'm implementing what we're actually talking about week to week. Again, you can go back and watch these other videos. Hi, Rick. And I think that's all I wanted to say. Oh, again, if I didn't say it already, on the YouTube page, subscribe if you haven't already, just because it helps for other people to see the content that may or may not be useful to them. And yes, any likes or all those things help with the video, you know, scaling and such. So any comments, any emojis that you want to share, I am happy to see them. And also, just if you do start making any adjustments or things feel better or feel worse. I want to know. I want to know what's happening here. I did get some feedback from my sister who's been following that it's been very helpful for her. So it's good to know. I'm going to keep doing it. I know there's a lot of voyeurs who never say anything, but it would be great to hear what you have to say. Okay, have a great Thursday, and maybe I'll be on briefly tomorrow sometime. I'm going to be in San Francisco tomorrow, so I'm guessing it would probably be 10-ish in the morning, which, you know, a lot of you are probably going to be in the middle of a work day, but you can watch and replay, and I hope you're all doing really well. All right, bye-bye.